Fox Business Alert, the 1,000-point market swing where the early rally was completely torched has investors' heads spinning. But Nvidia's Jensen Huang is looking skyward after his company's third-quarter earnings smashed expectations. Now, look, let's be clear. Nvidia has not escaped being bitten by the jaws of today's volatility. At its highs, it was at 196. It's at 181 right now, lost 5% of gains and is now down 2.6%. But the AI chip king's revenue surge shows its business is charging forward. It is the premier seller of the brains running the AI world's ambitions, and that's without access to China's $50 billion chip market. I spoke with the leader of the $4.5 trillion company from Washington, D.C., where he was conspicuously missing his leather jacket for an appearance at the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum. Considering his blowout third-quarter report, I asked Jensen how the current quarter looks, when and how smoothly will NVIDIA's new Rubin chip roll out, and whether he's worried about an open AI bubble. Jensen, thanks so much for joining us. Wow, I mean, you posted the biggest beat in years, raised guidance. Here's what jumped out. $51.2 billion of your $57 billion revenue number came from the data center chip sales. That is just monstrous. I'm so curious to know, what's the largest single order to date that you've gotten?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. They're all in the billions. You know, they all have to be in the billions in order to add up to 51. And so I don't know exactly which one. But one of the things that is really great about NVIDIA's architecture is that we're so diversified. You know, we run AI is not just one thing. It's not just one language model or one chatbot. AI is a system of models, and you could use it for, of course, chatbots, but you could also use it for physics and biology and chemistry and, of course, robotics and self-driving cars. And even within language models, there's so many different architectures. NVIDIA's architecture is the only one in the world that runs literally everything. And yesterday, we announced a big partnership with Anthropic, and now we're the only architecture in the world that runs every single premier AI model, as well as every single open source model, and of course, every single version, modality of model. And so our versatility makes it possible for us to have a lot of different customers. And for all of those customers, we can bring them a lot of other customers that ultimately use their cloud capabilities.
Yeah, it feels like all roads are leading to NVIDIA. How are orders for your next generation chip, the Rubin, trending? And are you still on track to ship them at the end of 2026?
Well, I announced at GTC that starting this year, because we started shipping Blackwells, over the course of this year through the end of next year, we have visibility of $500 billion worth of Blackwell and Vera Rubin. And we'll start shipping Vera Rubin in Q3 timeframe of next year. The silicon is back. It is working wonderfully. Engineers across NVIDIA are bringing up the system. It's doing it beautifully. And we're on track for volume production in the Q3 timeframe of next year. In the meantime, I announced that we have $500 billion worth of visibility, but in the last 30 days, we announced some major new wins that were not included in that $500 billion. So we're adding, of course, the Anthropic opportunity. We're adding Elon's xAI now being deployed in Saudi Arabia. We announced a partnership with Humane, and those GPUs have been licensed, and they're going to be deploying in Saudi Arabia. And we also announced that AWS is going to also build 150,000 GPU AI infrastructure in Saudi Arabia. All of those are all net new. And so orders are still coming in. And so it's going to be a pretty busy year for us the next year.
It sounds like then the current quarter is going to be crazy good. Can I say that? What do you think?
Well, we guided to a much larger quarter next quarter. And so the guidance that we provided is crazy good. I would agree with that. And but, you know, we're in the beginning of a very long-term build-out of the fundamental infrastructure of humanity, which is computing. As you know, we reinvented computing for the first time in 60, 70 years. And so all of the computers that have been installed around the world is being modernized to accelerated computing, NVIDIA's GPUs, and to artificial intelligence. And so this build out is going to last us many years to come.
You know, it was exactly a year ago, and this is why I ask about Rubin orders, et cetera, because it was a year ago that you and I spoke about the problem a lot of companies wish they had. Blackwell orders were pouring in from the firehouse so fast, demand outweighed supply. What specifically have you changed to prevent any bottlenecks when Rubin rolls off the Taiwan semi-assembly line?
Well, you know, we're not going to be caught flat-footed too many times. And we now have a much better understanding of the scale and the breadth, the diversity of our customer base. We've done a really good job planning our supply chain. We now have the largest supply chain of any company in the world. We work with TSMC, of course, manufacturing in Taiwan, and then also very proudly, for the first time here in the United States, we work with every single memory vendor now. We have 3 different sources, 3 gigantic sources of really complicated memory. And every system maker in the world are partnering with us. And so we've been planning for the Vera Rubin launch, and we've done a really good job getting set up for that. It's going to be a really big year next year.
So in September, you made a minor investment in Intel. Would you consider moving some of your physical manufacturing to Intel's foundry business? I mean, just to spread your bets?
Well, the most important thing we could do for Intel is something that only we can do. We could create opportunities for the Intel architecture and not only help them build products that are unique in the world, connecting NVIDIA's ecosystem to the Intel ecosystem, but also be a really large customer of Intel's. And so we are able to do something that nobody else can. We also invested in them, as you know, and you know, it's a great honor for us to be able to invest in one of the United States' great companies, and we want American semiconductor companies to be strong, and this is something that we can do.
None of the chips that you are selling right now are going to China, at least not through legal channels. There is the black market, certainly, but I mean, ByteDance, Tencent, they used to buy hundreds of thousands of your chips, but President Trump is still curbing advanced chip exports to China. Read your chips. And on the Chinese side, President Xi Jinping has basically called for a fatwa on U.S.-made chips. So what can you do? You're in D.C. right now. You speak to President Trump. What light has he given you for the end of the tunnel when you can eventually sell to China again?
You're right that we haven't sold anything to China. Remember, NVIDIA's chips are not little tiny potato chips. These are 2 tons. Each one of our GPUs is a rack that's 2 tons large, or even the smaller versions of our racks are hundreds of pounds. And so it's not easy to smuggle. It's also requires really complicated networking and really complicated software. So it's not something that's easily smuggled. People talk about smuggling, but it's incredibly hard to do. And we chase down every opportunity, every single time that somebody's reported something, and it's just not been true. And so I think but separately, our situation currently is that it is clear that we really need America to go back into the Chinese market to be able to compete there. It's good for the American people. It's good for the American tech stack. It's also good that we are able to compete in China so that we could also win around the world. And so I think it's great for America to be able to go back into China. It's also really good for China market to be able to access the world's best technologies. It's good for their ecosystem. It's good for their industry. And so somehow we're going to continue to advocate and inform both governments. And, you know, at the moment, I'm forecasting China's sales to be 0. It's 0 for next quarter, it's 0 for the quarter after that. We're assuming it's going to be 0. If we're able to break through on both sides of the ocean and with both governments, of course, China is going to be a very large market. It's about $50 billion this year. By the end of the decade, it's probably $150, $200 billion large, considering how fast AI is growing. It is really unfortunate that the American companies can't participate in that. It's a very significant source of revenue. That revenue would allow us to invest even stronger, even faster. And so I hope that we'll have the opportunity to go back in. But at the moment, we just have to assume it's 0.
All right. You know, I do have to ask you, because this has come up, and this is not going to be a surprise to you that I'm asking about it, but there's some questions about these round-tripping deals that really start to look, well, the term everybody's using is circular, but they're related party transactions. Even your own filings have said that you have basically increasingly concentrated sales to, last quarter, it was 6 customers. There are filings that saying this quarter, it's now 4 big customers. I know you're not going to tell me who those customers are, but it's pretty obvious they're very much the hyperscalers. What if any of these companies, Jensen, suddenly scales back for whatever reason? Have you modeled for that? Because it could spook the markets. And again, people are asking this question about, oh, Nvidia gave OpenAI $100 billion, and in turn, OpenAI is going to buy your chips with ostensibly some of that money. It's a question. Tell people why they shouldn't be worried.
First of all, we haven't given a penny yet. And all of the revenues that we're projecting for next quarter and for next year, if you just think about the level of investment that we would make in each tranche, and none of it is forecasted at the moment in the $500 billion that I'm talking about, the investments that we're making is a tiny percentage of our overall revenues. They have to go raise the vast majority of the funding that they need. It's raising through equity, through other investors, and of course, every single round has been oversubscribed for OpenAI and for Anthropic and for XAI. They've been all oversubscribed, so they certainly don't need our investment. Our investment is intended to enable us to deepen our partnership with several of the most consequential companies in history. It allows us to work very closely with them, support their growth, but most importantly, expanding our ecosystem.
I'm just saying, because you never know when payments get missed, and I know that payments stretch out and the credit goes way out, but this is just something that people are worried about. I know that you have really been so incredibly excited about basically the integrated AI world. What, though, because we've talked about that, what makes you so thrilled about it, but what worries you about a fully AI integrated world?
Well, the things that we have to start with is we have to make AI function safely. You know, things have to work well. If a car doesn't work well, it's unsafe. If a microwave doesn't work well, it's unsafe. And so the first thing that we have to do is make AI work really, really well. You know, one example is that it doesn't hallucinate, random things, that it's grounded in truth. One of the big breakthroughs of the industry in the last couple of years is how incredibly good the AI is about doing research whenever it's uncertain. It can go find the ground truth so that it functions properly. It reasons, it thinks. All of these things enable the AI to, number one, function safely.
And as we finish, would you agree to support regulation on that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Remember, AI is, in the final analysis, an application use case. And just as every healthcare product has regulation, every consumer product has regulation, every transportation product has regulation, whatever industry, whatever use case, whatever application it is, it should be held up to the same regulations, now enhanced for artificial intelligence. And so that's to regulate the end use of AI, and to be mindful about applying regulation to the fundamental technology, because the technology wants to advance quickly so we could do all the things that I mentioned earlier, but the end use should surely be regulated.
Great to hear from you, Jensen. Thank you. I know it's been an incredibly busy time for you. That's not going to change, it feels like. We appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, Liz. Great to see you.